Look at this, more toys from T238 for me to play with. So, what have we got in this time? Obviously, another MOSFET. This time, we've looked at V3 ones previously. This is a V2. So, right, okay, so here we go. We have got, let's pull it out here, let's not break anything. Okay, one MOSFET. Now this is going to split in half, I believe, so that we can install it. There we go. Now, is there anything here that actually says like a model number or something, other than it just being a T238 version 2 and it's Bluetooth? And it does say here on the first page of the manual, this upgrade kit is designed for professional airsoft / gel blaster player who can fully disassemble and assemble automatic electric gun. Now, do we know anyone that can do that?
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
Okay, so looking at the actual circuit board itself, this is all going to be working off of little sensors rather than push buttons or switches, which I think is quite good. So what we need to do, we need to choose a toy, of which here's one we prepared earlier, if I don't destroy the rest of the workshop at the same time. We're going to put that in here, because this is my ICS CXP. This is still running on the standard trigger contacts and wiring, so we're going to switch all of that out and put this in, and we'll have a play with it and see how it performs. Now this is a minute, just so that we've sort of seen it doing something. This has got an 11.1 volt battery attached. Absolutely fine. To be fair, it's one I've kind of built and shimmed and all the rest of it previously, so I know everything else in there is working amazing, but we're going to use it as the kind of demo point for this. So let's take it apart. This is nice because this is, how easily can we do this? This being an ICS one, as the split gearbox. So it should be nice and easy for me to get that out, and then that hopefully should fit in there, but we'll see. We'll pull it all out and we'll have a look. So here is the lower half of the ICS gearbox. So this is where we're going to put the MOSFET itself, and to do so we are going to strip out all of the standard mechanical triggers that you can see functioning there. Obviously rip out all the old wiring, as that what this originally came with. So let's get this open, where we're going to do it, but we're not going to move any of the shims, because as I say, I've already kind of built this one and set this one up, so we need to do nothing more than literally put this MOSFET in and see what it's all about. That's what we look like at the minute. Now let's remove all of these and let's not muck up any of these. Okay, so for the purpose of putting this MOSFET in, we're going to need to remove the semi-release lever, which is this little bit here, that functions as the gear goes around, and of course the trigger contacts. So we'll get them out of the way. But we're going to keep the screws, because I think one of these two screws we're going to need to fit the actual MOSFET in. Okay, we don't need any of that, we don't need that. That can all go to one side, get rid of that. Now, the other thing I'm going to do as well is, because I've noticed that in the instruction manual, it suggests that we can have programming on the safe mode, semi mode, and auto mode with all the various settings. So what I'm going to do is take out the the safety lever, which is basically this, it just blocks the trigger from physically moving by popping up and stopping the trigger moving forward, basically. If I take this out of the way, it means the trigger will still be able to be pulled whilst the gun is set to the safe selection point. And we should still be able to get the gun to do it. So we can effectively have a semi, a burst and a full auto. We'll play with that when the MOSFET's in. Right, with all the parts out of the gearbox and out of the way, we now need to see if we can get this to go in here. Now, before we do it, actually, because I've seen these are stickers, which I think, looking at these, top board, which is going to be the other one, so we're going to use the bottom sticker. I think that is just going to go on here and cover up these little metal kind of contact bits to stop them, I suppose, shorting out on the gearbox shell. So we've got this one, and we're going to put that over there, because that's where it looks like it fits. Come on. There we go. I think that's going to go on there. It just covers them up. I would imagine that is, as I say, to stop them shorting out or something. So we're going to stick that on there. Now, this, we're going to put in here. So is it going to fit? Now, we're not going to be too rough with it because it is going to be fragile. So it's not sitting flat. Can you see that? There's a little bit of a gap. Now, I think that is due that on this particular gearbox, that seems to be that like the screw mounting point here, where that's obviously a risen bit, that is slightly too chunky to fit through this hole by all accounts. Now, I'm not going to force that down on there, but what I will very quickly do is I'll just try and make this ever so slightly slimmer in itself so that it actually fits through the hole on here so we can fit it. So let me just do that. Okay, perfect. So that now fits on there. You'll see that's gone on nice and smoothly with no effort, and then there's no gap along here, so it means the board is sitting flat inside the gearbox. And all I did on this occasion with this particular gearbox, this ICS one, was just file down that little circular bit that the screw mounting point was, just so it fits through the board. So dead easy, really. So that's all in there. What we need to do now is we'll fix this in position for a moment, and then we'll get the top of the board, which is a sticker to go on that, which we'll do. And what we need to do is make sure that when that is in here and fitted, that it's not going to hit any of the other side of the gearbox that might cause a problem when it's screwed together. So let's do that. Ah, well, it ain't that screw. It's got to be that one then, isn't it, of those two? It's got to be that one. Yep, there we go. We'll do the sticker on top of this one as well. Same applies to this. That one's got a nice little label on there saying it is the top board. So let's have there, that's just covered up all of those contacts. So let's put that in there. Now literally all we're doing, we're lining up all the pins. Make sure they're all in position before you apply any pressure, and then that should just nicely squeeze together. So we'll have all the cables just out the way for a moment. So that should be fine. Yeah, look at that, as suspected. So some of the side of this gearbox, as you can see here, is obviously hitting the board. So we need to smooth it all off 100% in there, or at least the tail end of this top bit anyway, because that would sit in there like that. So I'm going to cut the tail end of that off, and I'm also going to smooth that little ridge off. So let me just do that. Yeah, we'll just clean that up, and then that hopefully will allow it to fit. Right, so with all that smoothed off, that with a bit of luck will sit in there nice. No, it won't, because I've missed one bit. Ready? Look, that chunky bit there in this occasion. Whether other gearboxes will be different, as I say, if you're doing this, check with the gearbox you're using. So yeah, I'll be back. Right, that's gone. That should fit. Yeah, so perfect. That is sitting nice and flush in there now. So let's try closing the gearbox back up again. Oh yes, look at that. Nice. So that has gone together. There was absolutely no resistance there. So that is fine. So essentially then, that's in. Obviously we've got to rebuild it, but there's one more thing we're going to do that I saw it mention in the destruction manual. And that is that because T238, where they make these, they're not just for airsoft, they're for gel blasters as well. Not that I know anything about a gel blaster. But these two wires here, I'm assuming it's these two, it says to cut the magazine power leads off if you're using it for airsoft, which we are. And I'm going to say it's those two because it certainly isn't that lot that's going to our battery and our motor. So through process of elimination, we're going to cut them off. Now I'm going to try and get them down as low as possible. So let's go. Let's go. There for that one. And then this one, we're going to have to be careful with this one because it is on the feed for obviously our signal wire that goes back to the battery and the motor. So what I think we'll do is we'll can't even get the gadgets in there. They might be better suited. Gently does it. Yeah, that'll do it, that'll do it, that'll do it. Right, off there. Doesn't help that they're blunt and horrible. Right, okay. Right, so with that little bit, as small as I can get it, and none of it touching the board, then let's get the wires in position. So, I think we'll have that one last, and that's for good reason in a moment. But what we will do is we'll have that one down here first, because it's the smallest one. So we'll have that like that. Right, now this. So when we do this one, because I believe these bits here, I'm pretty certain they are for the trigger sensor. So we don't want to cover those up, because I would imagine that is probably not a good idea. So let's come around all that, down there. Right, so we've got these cables down as far and as low as we can get them and as flat as we can get them. The reason we do that is because we don't want those contacting or getting caught with the motor, because it won't do it any good whatsoever. And then the reason we left this one till last is because when we push that through on this channel that holds the wires, it will keep the first two nice and low, but that is going to sneak round and come out there. Beautiful. Now, does the trigger fit in there and function? Yes, it seems to. So there seems to be enough space with the wires, like so. Just a point note, if you're doing that, and you're doing it, make sure you're not hitting those little sensors, just as a pointer. Right, well, when considering your grease that you're putting in as well, don't overload it at this point, because, well, obviously this has got all sorts of little sensors on it. All it takes is a little bit of grease to flick off one of the gears, land on a sensor, and if it blocks the wrong bit, none of it is going to work. That one goes on there. The other thing we are going to check as well is that you see this screw here. When we put that in, what you want to make sure is that that screw isn't hitting the underneath of the gear, because that would also cause a problem and sound absolutely horrible. I think it's fine, but we'll just quickly test it before we put the other bits in. We'll just do a closed gearbox run with everything in, these bits at least. We'll just do that very quickly. Right, what we're going to need to do is, can you see these little pins that I've got here? We're going to chop them off because obviously these wires are taking up all that space, and although these are great and they're designed to hold the wires in the channel, if we push down too hard it's just going to damage the wire and cause a short circuit. So let's not do that. Let's modify those or shorten them. Right, that's them smoothed off. Make sure they are smooth and that there's no sharp bits, because if it's sharp it's just going to penetrate the cable easier. We don't want that. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that, straight down that time. Okay, so that's good. So that is all back together, and remember, just check that little screw. I think that's absolutely fine. I cannot see that hitting. Yeah, no, it's well clear. It's like so far off that I don't know if the camera's even going to see in that. But yeah, that's clear, that's fine. So those spin absolutely nice. Right, so we can 100% rebuild it now, but we're going to leave out, as we mentioned earlier, the little safety. We don't want that. They're all running smoothly. I think that is now ready to go back in the body of this. But it's not ready though, is it? Because if I actually pay attention to what I'm doing, I'm glad I realised this now before I rebuilt the whole thing. Let's take this off of here. Because that does not have its white sticker on it yet. So that's now back on with the white sticker. The white sticker is important because it is what these little sensors see, and it's how they detect where that is. So obviously that moves back and forth when you turn the switch, fire selector switch, on the side of the lower receiver. So there we are. Now it's ready to go back in. Okay, it's all reassembled and hopefully ready to go. So, reading the instruction manual, I found myself an app. It talks about it in here, about downloading it from github.com, but I found it on the Play Store. So hopefully, we'll look at that in a minute, but I think what it does say before we start getting into the app itself, it talks about trigger calibration, about when we first connect it, it's going to do some beeping things, and then we're going to push and hold the trigger once, twice, 3 times and hold it for a little while. Yeah, then that is going to calibrate it apparently. So I'm expecting it to do that when I first plug the battery in. When we start it off, we'll start it on a 7.4. So connect the battery when prompted, tone of that, hold the trigger and release it. After repeating 3 times, the prompt tone will be that and it's calibrated. So we just try it and see what happens, ready? Right, that is pullable because we've taken the safety out, so that's fine. Let's plug this on here, ready? Oh wow, it did something. So we've got to go pull, hold, release. And one more. Look at that. Okay, so I think that's done. That did exactly what it said in there. So that was a good start. Now the question is, I might unplug it and replug it back in, and then we'll see if it actually fires, shall we? Because that was the first time it's been plugged in. So let's try that. Let's disconnect. I mean, you might be able to fire it straight away, but I don't know, belt and braces and all that lot. Let's do that. Plug it in, and hopefully it won't make a noise this time. It means it's ready to go. Let's see. Okay, it did make a noise to say it's plugged in, but it wasn't the same noise as before. So, does it fire? No, in none of them. No, okay, well let's try and get it connected to the app then, because, let's see, we've got the app on here. Okay, so we've got an app, let's, scanning, let's see what it does. I mean, this of course could be the wrong app because I just downloaded it off the Play Store when I found it on there, but it does say something different in there, so I may have to do that if it doesn't come up. No devices found. Okay, I've just seen, I'm going to try something before I go mad. It does say that the function is turned off on the Bluetooth programming after 30 seconds since you plug it in. So you've only got 30 seconds, apparently, the moment you connect the battery for it to find it. And that could be why I couldn't find it a second ago. So we have the app ready. Let's plug it in and then we'll search for it. Ready? So we're going to put that in. It plays a tune. Let's search. No, still nothing found. So it's not that. So I'll come back to you. Let me sort this. I might have to try and download this other thing and then I'll see you in a second. Okay, we're back. I actually found another app from T238, similar to the first one, but this one actually matches with the pictures in the manual. So I'm pretty confident it should be the right one this time. And I got that from basically direct from their website on the listing they've got of that exact MOSFET. So nice and easy to find. So if we bring that up, we've got that here. So that's open now. So that's ready. Let's connect the battery again. We're going to get that on the search options. Now that is found my printer. And my telly. So let's refresh it. Ah, yeah, look, exactly that. So at the top, we have got the digital trigger unit listed at the top. So let's click on that. Connection successful. Oh, wasn't that easy when you got the right app? There we go, look at that. If in doubt, follow the manual. My goodness me, we're in. So basic parameters, let's see what we've got. Low power warning, V2 semi, auto. So that's all the different programs for each of the trigger bits. So we just want those like they're on normal, don't we, really? I don't know why we've got a G36 and an AK type, because normally they're V3, they are. Okay, well, we'll go with that. We'll see what that is. Some more advanced settings that we can change, obviously individual bits. To be fair, I don't want active braking up to that amount. And the electric fuse, we probably don't need it that high. Should we go around 25 amps? That'd probably be all right. Rate of fire control, what's that? That's milliseconds. Let's just leave that off. Leave that off for now. Magazine capacity. Fine. Trigger mode, full. No idea what that means. Right, so I kind of feel, let's see if it actually fires now that we've done that, shall we? Okay, so we've come out of the app, we've changed a few settings, we've had a little look. Let's disconnect it, reconnect it, and then see if it fires. Ready? Ah. Okay, so we've got it going. I think where the sensor is, because I've only been pulling it lightly, is because I've got to get it all the way to its extreme and give it that last little to make it fire. But we can probably change that, I think, in the app, can't we? I also don't think my little alignment is quite correct on the sticker either, because it thinks that's semi and that's full, which we can hear the beeping. So I might have to change that ever so slightly. To be fair, that could be because it's an ICS, because I know with other MOSFETs you have to have the little sensor in a different position. So let me just fix that and then we'll have a look. Okay, so I've adjusted how much white is on the sticker over the selector plate to fix that. I'll put a picture up on the corner here just to show you what I've done. Literally, I just coloured it in with a permanent marker. Now, when I connect this, ready? Does its little tune to say it's on. But if we go from safe to semi, we can hear that. And then auto. So we can now hear it's beeping between each mode, which is really good. So hopefully the camera's picking that up. That means that's in the right position. So it now means that when we go safe, semi, and full, and I've also changed the trigger sensitive settings as well. So let's have a bit of fun with the app real quick, shall we? Okay, we're on. We've got the app connected. So I think we're happy with what we've got. So we'll run up 7.4, keep it like that for a minute. So we can change. So if we change the safe mode, for example, to, let's go semi-auto. And let's change the semi-auto position to a 3-round burst, because that sounds like fun. So that's all programmed. That's on there. So that's all good. And I tell you what we'll also do as well. We will, if we go into advanced settings, perhaps we'll add a, I don't know, let's just go for a splash of pre-cocking, shall we? Oh, okay. So we've got, we'll leave 50 on the pre-cocking. We've got the fuses now set to 25. That all seems good. Shall we see what it does now? So if we come out of all of that, so that's out of that bit. Turn it off, reconnect, and then we should have, so we haven't got a safe anymore, but hopefully it will do safe, and then it should. Oh, look at that. So even with the burst mode, obviously if you hold it, it's going to do the 3 and then stop. But if you, yeah, if you tap it, you can just get it to do semi. So that's quite clever. So it doesn't complete the burst if you need it to. That's quite cool. So there's loads of wicked settings, I think, that we can play around with there. Okay, so back on the settings. I think we get the gist of everything we've got on there. Well, obviously, we've seen the power warning. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch that to an 11.1. So we'll put an 11.1 volt battery on here in a moment. It's going to start getting upset, I think, because obviously it's got a 7.4 connected. You can hear it beeping. We'll change that in a minute. Obviously, we get the idea of the semi-auto bits, full auto bits, firing intervals. That's basically if you want a DMR delay, which we don't want that. I've put the trigger mode on sensitive because that's what made it more responsive. I'm going to have to pull it fully. Selector type is a G36, even though it's in like an M4 V2 platform, so no idea, but it's working, so it's fine. We don't want auto load because that's obviously something to do with the gel blaster, and it's not a dual sector gear, so ignore all the rest of those. That's fine. And then in the advanced setting, I have no idea what full low or full high or current pulses. I can't even find it in here. I've had a read through, can't find it. Pre-cocking, that's basically preloading your piston between each shots, ideal for semi. Rate of fire control, if you want to slow down the maximum rounds per second, I think that's going to put a milliseconds delay between each shot, so it's almost going to start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, rather than continuously go on full auto if you add that. Active braking, which that keeps turning itself up, which I do not want it up. Disabled. And the electronic fuse, I don't just keep that around there. Meh, that's fine. I can't see anything about this signal frequency. Again, not in there. In the book bit here, it obviously highlights the picture, but where it's got all the mentions of stuff at the back here, it kind of misses that out. So I don't really know what that's all about. Who knows? Obviously magazine capacity, I think that's probably a gel blaster thing as well. But they're all on there. That's all done. Let's take that off. And then let's go and have a look at what this does on 11.1, because this is now currently getting upset because I've changed the settings. So let's quickly connect an 11.1 to that. Alright, so there we go. That is now connected with an 11.1. So semi, burst, and full. Beautiful. So that is working seamlessly. Okay, so this is bringing us to a bit of a close of this video. It does appear to be working amazing. So a big thank you to T238 for sending me one of their kind of Bluetooth connectable MOSFETs. So that's been great to kind of have a play with, have a work with. It's working really well. I like the fact that you can program each of the selector modes. So now, for example, I've played around with the settings a bit. We've still got semi, but I've even got a binary mode, and of course full auto still. The only thing I'm not too keen on though, and I can't see any way you can turn it off, is the fact that every time you turn this, it beeps. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I would have just liked the ability to be able to turn that off. It's nice when you're setting it up to confirm that you've got it all right, but beyond that, I don't really think it would need to stay. So if there was a setting that could turn it off, I think that would be great. But failing that, that does seem to be working really well. I think the fact that that is off of optical sensors for things like the trigger, the sector, gear position, and obviously all like the semi-release lever and bits, I think that's great. That's much better than any physical buttons and triggers I've seen on some of the ones that they've kindly sent through to me. So I do think that is quite a superior setup in that, which is great. Other than that, hopefully that's been useful to everyone. Maybe you've learned something, who knows. Again, thank you to T238 for considering me and sending one of them for me to play with and create a video to share with you guys. So that does, I think, bring us to the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.